All right, listen, we're just gonna get right into this today. I'm just gonna say this. Do not watch this video if you're looking for hand-holding. Do not watch this video if you want sweetness and light and all the biohacks in the world to get your period back, or to recover from overtraining syndrome, or to just deal with life, because that's not what you're gonna get here. I have been on YouTube for 2 years now, and I have less than 3,000 subscribers. So if what I say offends you or makes you feel uncomfortable, guess what? You're probably not alone. All right, I'm gonna go through the questions. I'm gonna do one of those like annoying YouTuber things, and I'm going to look at the questions that you left for me while I'm filming this video, and I wrote down some answers, so we're gonna go through them that way. Okay, the first question is, how long did it take me to get my period back? And I understand some of you are new to my channel. By the way, hi, and thank you for watching. You can go all the way back into my videos and look at the old stuff, or you can go to acaseofthejills.com, where there is a free ebook preview of the first 2 chapters of the book that explains a whole bunch of frequently asked questions. You can either download the free preview or you can purchase the whole book. The short answer is 2 months, and there's a lot more information where that came from. Like I said, check out the old videos or go ahead and get the ebook. Okay, next question is, do you think it's okay to do yoga a few times per week while trying to get the period back? Is weightlifting too strenuous on the recovering body? Do you think it's important to stuff yourself with calories? Or is it better to eat according to your hunger signals? All right, so let me try to answer this one. In my opinion, there's a difference between eating for eating disorder recovery and eating for hypothalamic amenorrhea recovery. I am not a therapist, I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm not an expert in eating disorders because I myself did not have an eating disorder. That being said, I certainly had disordered eating patterns. Be that as it may, I am not an expert on eating disorders, but I will tell you this. No one is going to feel good stuffing themselves uncomfortably with food. Anyone. The idea is to remove food restrictions and to feel good in one's body and good in one's mind, and we're going to talk more about that. So I don't like the term stuffing oneself. I don't think anyone should make themselves feel sick or sad or bad or uncomfortable in this process. The question is if yoga is okay to do a few times a week? Sure. Yoga is something that should be gentle unless you're doing heated, hot, stressful yoga. Common sense here. As I always say, the idea with exercise when you're trying to get your period back is to do about 20% of your previous volume. So if a couple of gentle yoga classes per week are what you feel like doing because you were running, 10 miles a day before, yeah, that's probably fine. Weightlifting, I can't answer that question, but you know what? You probably can. Do you weightlift to the point where it's strenuous? Do you feel that you're stressing your body? The idea behind a lot of this is to listen to your intuition. And if you are asking me this question, it's probably because you yourself feel that it's probably a little bit too much. Go with your instinct. In history, women, and specifically women trying to change their shape through diet and exercise, have been taught to not trust their intuition. They've been taught to fight against their natural hunger cues and tendencies. And so anything that we can do to combat that, or to pay attention to the fact that the way we might be feeling is not what our body is telling us. And those two things are different. One of them can be influenced by culture and sort of mindset. And the other one is your deep soul, your physical being telling you a message. If you have to choose between those two, listen to yourself inside. The rest of it doesn't matter. Okay, the next question comes from someone who's looking for looking to help other people who are trying to recover from hypothalamic amenorrhea and associated disorders, and she asks, could you please recommend to me any programs or courses? No, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I really can't. The way to kind of help people is to either become a physician, become a therapist, become a researcher in some way, which is what I've done, is go back to school to get a master's degree in psychology and do research and work on a thesis and all these different things to bring attention to the area, to try to be vocal, be on YouTube, be on Instagram, speak openly about the issue. The more we normalize it, the more people talk about it, the more they realize it's not a scary or a shameful thing, and we can all help each other in that way. Next question is interesting. It says, I heard that constant urinating is a sign of low estrogen and a common thing with people in HA. Did you experience that as well? Frequent urination is a sign of high cortisol, and if you kind of know a little bit about the science behind all this, when you have high stress hormones is when you start to have problems with your HPA axis, which is when you start to have problems with hypothalamic amenorrhea. So if you do find yourself urinating more frequently, it could be a sign of high amounts of stress hormones in the body. Did I have a problem with this? No, I'm a peer in general, so like I have to pee right now. So I'm always peeing. Next question says, is it possible to lose a period without any reason, even when doctors can't find one? I'm not sure if I can answer this question, but you might be able to, in the sense that you may not consider the reason why you lost your period to be reason good enough to lose your period, but your body seems to be telling you otherwise. I'm not saying that that's what's going on with this person or what's going on with anyone in general, but the idea is that if you've lost your period, something is wrong. If doctors can't tell you what that is, meaning if they're like, well, you lost your period, maybe you're very active, or maybe you're very stressed, or you're not eating enough, that requires you to do some soul searching and to understand what your habits are like and whether or not you're contributing to the current situation you're in. Again, this may not be your situation, and it may be that you've gone through all that, you've had all the testing in the world, and still no one can figure out what's going on. I would say try to get a second opinion and talk to another healthcare practitioner. There are certain weird anomalies that can actually take place where someone loses a period and it's not related to HA, and it's not related to, well, let's just put it this way. Maybe get a second opinion, but only after you've done some serious soul searching and real understanding of what your habits and thought processes and lifestyle is. Next question is, what carbs are you able to digest without having any gut issues? I'm assuming that this has to do with the fact that I am celiac. I can digest and don't really have problems with really anything aside from, I personally have problems with potatoes and rice, and that is very specific to me. Obviously I can't eat gluten since I do have celiac disease, so anything with gluten in it I'm obviously not eating. If you want some ideas of gluten-free carbohydrate sources that are starchy and good for you and that you might be able to eat if you have problems with gluten or you have celiac disease, I love corn, those corn kind of crackers. I eat tons of those. I eat a lot of sweet potatoes if I can find them, because remember I'm in Italy, so some of the things are different. I eat quinoa, I eat corn, anything that's like corn related, corn chips, stuff like that. Buckwheat. Buckwheat's a great one. I love that. You can get the buckwheat groats and make porridge out of it. You can find buckwheat flakes that substitute for oatmeal. I love those. They're so good. I kind of like put them in everything. I have to say, I'm a sucker for sweet potatoes, especially if I can get the Japanese sweet potatoes, which are like impossible to find here, but if I can get them, I love those so much, and they're a good source of starchy, good carbohydrates for a celiac, for anyone, but for me in particular that I can't tolerate some other things, those are awesome. Next question is, have you done any research on pregnant women who have a history of overtraining and are still mentally recovering? This is a great question. I've been doing this long enough that I have women that I have talked to about getting their periods back. They've gotten their periods back, they've gotten pregnant, they've had babies, and now they're on the other end of that. They're, new mothers, and they're having to deal with the fact that the truth of the matter is that a lot of these tendencies and feelings that they had beforehand, they come all the way through the fertility issues, the pregnancy, and even post-pregnancy into motherhood. I think that there is this kind of fantasy out there that we are going to become mothers, we're going to go through pregnancy, it's going to be idyllic, and all of these nasty ideas in our heads about the things that we told ourselves before we had babies, they're all going to go away because of the joy of motherhood and our beautiful child. I wish I could tell you that that was true. It might be for some people, for sure. The experience that I have with women who have gone through this process is that unfortunately, if they do not address those underlying issues that led them into bad habits in the first place, they do come back. And my camera just died. Okay, I think the message here is that as much as I want it to be this like Fantasyland idea that you just go through all this and you don't think about it anymore, that's really not necessarily true. There's a lot of women that still struggle during the pregnancy, after the pregnancy. They put a lot of pressure on themselves, and these issues do come back. I hear from women very often who already have children who have gone back to either fitness competitions or endurance sports or whatever it was that they were doing before pregnancy, which for them feels like an achievement, except when they get back into that lifestyle, they take with them, or I should say they reunite with, the sort of disordered behaviors and habits that they were engaging with before the pregnancy. I'm gonna say this right now, I've said it a million times before and I'll say it again. If you do not address the underlying issues that led to your disordered habits are gonna come back. They just are. You can run, but you can't hide. Next question says, I'm trying to recover from HA, but I don't want to fully give up exercise. What are your thoughts on this? I also want to preface this by saying that this person has been trying to recover for, it looks like, over a decade. So I want to be as gentle as possible with this. Here's a question for you. If you have been trying to recover from HA for almost a decade and you don't want to give up exercise and it hasn't worked, what do you think that tells you? To me, the answer is clear. You need to think very, very hard about your habits, and you need to think very, very hard about whether or not your daily habits, weekly habits, are supporting your goals. This is not science. It's just the idea of everyone should ask themselves this question. Are your behaviors aligning with your goals? It's just a life question. We have to ask ourselves this every day. All of us can sit here and complain about all the things that are wrong in our lives, all the things that are not working, but ask yourself, are you doing things during your day that support your desires, dreams, goals, or are you sabotaging yourself? I understand not wanting to give up exercise, but the fact of the matter is that not wanting to give up exercise means that you are living in fear. Ask yourself this. What are you afraid of? This is deep stuff. This is deep stuff that a therapist can maybe help you with, someone way more qualified than me. That's where it needs to begin. You start with the question inside. Why am I so afraid? Why don't I want to let go? And is it serving me? If you can answer those questions, you have already stepped a huge bound forward. So what's my opinion? My opinion is you need to do the things that are supportive of your recovery. If it means you need to give up exercise or do nothing more than go for a 20-minute walk a couple of times a week, then that's what you need to do. If you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. I'm not giving people excuses today. I'm not. There's no hack. There's no cheat for this. You've got to get inside here and figure it out. With that said, I love you and I understand how hard this is. I just want you to hear the truth. What is the point of me doing this if I'm not telling the truth? All right, so with that being said about hacks, the next question is, what is your view on phytoestrogens? All right, anyone who asks me questions about phytoestrogens, adaptogens, I don't know, whatever other kind of gens, here's what I'm gonna tell you about supplements. You can't take a pill to fix this. You can't want to take a pill to fix this. Why? Because it's the same thing as a person who has extremely high cholesterol, but they eat steak and cheese every day. You can take all the pills in the world, but is it fixing the problem? Sure, you can take a pill and a potion or try any of them, any of the supplements out there that pretend or tell you that they're gonna help you get your period back. But it's taking a pill. Is it fixing the underlying problem? Is it helping you address how to nourish your body, why you have refused to up until now, a dependence on exercise, what society is telling you about what you should look like and be and achieve and where your value is? No, you can't get that in a pill. So here's my advice to you. Learn how to do this without needing anything external. You are your best medicine, not a pill. In the same way, the next question says, can I speed up recovery by eating 3,000 to 5,000 calories for weeks every single day? Is it possible to speed things up this way? Why? Why would you want to do this? Again, back to the previous question, I'm just repeating myself, which is that really what you want to do? Is it sustainable? Because remember, what we're doing is we're not putting a Band-Aid on this problem and saying, okay, I've got my period back, now I'm fine. The idea is to do something to live in a way that's sustainable, to generate and create thought processes and behaviors that are sustainable for long term, for the health of your body and your mind. Do you get it? No hacks. Same question with the acetyl L-carnitine supplements. I really am not going to repeat myself again because now I sound like a total witchy old lady. Next person asks, once you start eating more and working out less, how long does it take to start seeing improvement? Immediately. Want to know why? Because you're telling your body and your mind a message. You're saying, I love you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to put you first. I'm going to say screw you to everything else. Anything that I've heard from my sport, diet culture, society at large, or any bad messages I've been telling myself about my value as a person, all this time, I'm gonna say, screw you to all that. As soon as you say, I'm making this decision to put myself first, my health first, already there's an improvement. So, immediate results. Now, when your body and your mind start to come back online, it might take a little bit longer, but make no mistake, from the moment you make that decision, you're already ahead of the game. There's another person who asks me a question about struggling with HA, but then talks about gaining weight and not being able to lose it, and asking me if I think that they're related. Yeah. So here's the thing, you can't recover from hypothalamic amenorrhea. You can't try to get your period back and lose weight at the same time. I mean, I think that's probably understood, but in case it's not, just from me to you, yeah, you can't do that. You really have to understand that weight gain is most likely going to be part of this process, and it's not something that you're going to want to try to lose. There are many, many women who have gotten their periods back, have overshot a set weight, and then ended up sort of settling back down a little bit lower. That's kind of, I wouldn't say that's the norm, but it certainly does happen. It happened to me. There's a few other people that I have worked with that has happened to, but like, I think what you're trying to do is contrary to your goal. And this is what I said before. Think about your everyday habits and your everyday mindsets, and are they or are they not contributing to the greater goal? That's kind of how you know if what you're doing is right. I got, just in summary, I got a lot of other questions about number of calories to eat per day and amount of exercise to do per day. At this point, I like really cannot repeat myself more. People, ladies, gentlemen, if you're watching, it is time to get real. There are so many messages out there in the media, so many messages that purport themselves to be healthful. They talk about wellness, which has now become the next 4-letter word. None of this stuff, or most of it, it's all garbage. What we need to do in order to recover, in order to become full and whole people who are able to make good decisions for our health, again, is to ignore, we have to ignore all that stuff. If you do not get a period, it is because you are not eating enough, exercising too much, yes, but also because something inside here is broken. We need to fix that, okay? Only you can do that work, and the only way you can do that work is if you're willing to look inside and see why over-exercising and under-eating has filled a void for you, has helped you manage something that you didn't want to manage before. Okay? And we need to change that habit. So different kind of video for me today. I feel like I've been preaching way too much. I just want you to know that I love you, and I totally understand that this is not an easy process, but my goal here is to help you try to remove a lot of the extra information out there that you don't need to obsess on. If I can be of additional service to you, you can schedule a mentoring call with me on acaseofthejills.com. Remember the ebook, remember the free preview of the ebook. It is so hot in here because I had to close the window so I could film, and I am dying of heat. So I am done with this video, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.